I'm going to try to keep this brief because I have some errands to run. I've been trying to figure out a way to explain everything that's going on with it sounding too outrageous or too complicated for people to understand. Um, Currently, right here in the U.S., America, there's a lot of things going on that are being kept really concealed. A lot has to do with the takeover of the American government by Scientology and other Satan worshiping cults that have been in operation since maybe before Charles Manson, um, maybe before he even came to Los Angeles. Um, the plan to take over America has been in process for decades. Um, and of course, no one's going to broadcast their intentions to the rest of the American people, especially if it has to do with the extermination of the American people who aren't with that Satan worshiping culture or part of Scientology. So Scientology wasn't a negative religion. It's actually a philosophy that you live by, and it was stolen, a stolen philosophy, and it was taken and it was demonized, and it was used as they put the Aztec culture together with Scientology. That's what they try to do. But see, Scientology is about living Christ conscience, about living and doing like Christ did. That's what the original science, and it ain't even called Scientology. It's called religious science. For people who do know the history about Scientology, you know that them and another church called the Church of the Final Judgment, they claim that they went to Mexico to the pyramids, and they did a ritual and they summoned spirits there. But that ain't the case. They didn't have to go to Mexico because all the pyramids are here in Los Angeles, Montebello, all throughout City Terrace, Hollywood. They're all over the place. Hundreds of them. San Gabriel Mountains, the foothills. From here, from North California to Southern California, you'll find hundreds of pyramids all over the place. And then throughout America. What was that other one? Long Island, they have pyramids. The Appalachians have pyramids. They're everywhere. So with that being said, their idea was to merge what they call Scientology with Aztec ritual. But they chose to take the negative route. They chose to listen and be seduced by evil energies and spirits that promise them power, promise them stealth, promise them whatever they want. And that idea alone, I mean, it seems, supernatural. Who doesn't want to possess a power of the supernatural and feel, empowered? A lot of people do. And a lot of people take that risk and they take that route. As for me, maybe I would have thought that way, but it wasn't meant for me to think that way. Because the way I came into this supernatural lifestyle is it was through a bad experience. And that's what led me to have to take the other route. I mean, even then, it's your nature what guides you. I don't have a bad nature. My nature isn't a one of hurting people or bad intention. My nature's always been good intention. That's because the upbringing that my mother gave me and my sister. My mother's always had good intention. She's always helped people. Um, she's not a negative woman. She's maybe it was due to her upbringing that she is the way she is. And even if she was another way, you know, it's probably the environment you put yourself in which creates you. But never, it doesn't even matter what environment that she was in. Never did she ever have bad intentions towards anybody. Never will she hurt anybody because that's just not her. Um, but that's how my mother raised us, having good intentions and helping others. And so that's how I was raised. I don't have bad intentions towards people. Even when back in my teenage days, when our environment was a negative environment. I mean, every kid, teenager, had to succumb to their environment and was forced to make a decision on, what are they going to do? Are they going to join the others, or are they going to get bullied and get their ass kicked constantly, or are they going to move out and go somewhere else? Well, I didn't have that option of moving out and going somewhere else. I had to succumb to whatever my environment was, and I eventually had to join them. And that's what our environments do to people. But luckily, no matter what I've experienced in my past, all the negative, all the loss that the Mexican American communities experience, especially during the '90s when it was really violent and crazy, and there was murders every day. You're lucky if you live through that. Um, and having a good nature, which a lot of even the most hardest people, most hardened people I know, the even convicts who participated in the gang violence here in my neighborhood and anywhere else in the Southland. Um, their nature isn't to hurt children. Their nature isn't to hurt innocent people, and a lot has to do with the prison and how the prisons ran. A lot of the prison hierarchy, the ones who run the gang members on the street, that isn't their kind of negative. Their negative isn't to hurt innocent people. It isn't. It has to do with gang politics. That's their business. It isn't just messing with harmless people who are just living their lives. As a matter of fact, there's a heavy consequence for people who do go to jail for that reason, who molest kids, who hurt children, child murderers, people who abuse the senior citizens. If you don't have a good reason for what you've done, that's a consequence that you face in prison. Your jacket says everything you've done, everything you've got arrested for in your whole life is accessible. That's just the way it is. But like I was saying, we have these Satan worshipers. The Scientology has a humongous following, just outrageously humongous. If you ever did your research on Scientology, you'll see just how aggressive and negative they can be, while they're calling other people suppressed people. They're being excessively suppressed, which they refer to as suppressed. It's negative, just being a negative person with negative habits. They're being that excessively while pointing their fingers at others, like they have an entitlement to be that, and no one else can. Well, they're out killing children and practicing their evil Aztec sacrificing rituals because they took over all the pyramids. They build on top of the pyramids, they build homes, so they have easy access into those pyramids, and they become seduced, and eventually they become delusional. While they're practicing these sacrificial rituals that are have brought us to our present time. I mean, there's a prophecy that is in the Temple of Inscriptions. A prophecy that's been concealed. None of us are familiar with it because it's been concealed. But it's been concealed for a reason. It's been concealed because they wanted to change that destiny of what's supposed to happen. And instead of the prophecies being positive, we're always having negative prophecies, according to the American government. I mean, our prophecies are all about there's going to be a man in blue coming to America from the Middle East and taking over, and it's going to be genocide and death to children and everybody. And only after that will there be happiness and peace. That's not the prophecy. That's not the prophecy. The prophecy is there's going to be a return of an Aztec emperor and the return of Jesus Christ. And there's going to be his chosen people that are going to inherit the earth. That's the prophecy. But right now, at our current time, people don't know the details about what's going on, about how it's going to play out. No one knows that Kenneth Bianchi, one of the Hillside Stranglers, has a role in all of this, with the help of Hillary Clinton. No one really knows the true history of Hillary Clinton and how she's even involved in the American government. How does one lady have so much power? How? Like, it's fucking ridiculous. Who is she? Who is she? Is she some kind of royalty here in America? I mean, really, who the fuck is she? How come she can run around fucking every fucking state in the United States and put her foot down and everyone's listening? How? What gives her that entitlement? Because she's associated with the Ku Klux Klan. Well, she must be a grand wizard or some kind of priestess or something to have that much say and that much authority here in America, where she really don't have a title, but she could do anything she wants. I mean, really, it's ridiculous. The entitlement is ridiculous. I mean, and if it was up to me, if I had power and I had to judge her, don't even make me tell you what I would do or what judgment I would make. Because it's obvious. You could look in my eyes and you'll know what I would say. Because if anyone knows her, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't, just look into her eyes and you'll see. I mean, there's a lot of deceiving people out there. A lot of deceiving people that are really slick at concealing their true intention. But not me. People are transparent to me. I could look at someone and get a good understanding of who they are and what they do. And it's not even a secret. It's not a secret. I mean, you can look online about her, and I mean, you'll see all these stories that are attached to her with people who are missing. I mean, you want to lie to yourself and say, no, that ain't it. Well, anyways, in the 70s, there was a reason Kenneth Bianchi came and infiltrated the Mexican American communities, because he knew through Hillary Clinton and whoever else is on her team and helps her and participates in helping this conspiracy along. They knew everything that was going to happen in the future. They know names, who's going to come, and who's going to be the threat to their power here in America, because they're negative, they're racist negative, satanic negative, human sacrifice negative, and even technology negative. Um, they knew who to go to. They knew the names. They knew who was gonna come into the world, and that's what they were trying to prevent back in the '70s when they infiltrated the Mexican American communities. They had to look for whoever it was that was supposed to end up taking over America and the world because of its intention towards every other ethnicity throughout the whole world. Um, and that's exactly what they did. That's exactly why I have memories of Kenneth Bianchi when I was a kid. Because even though he wouldn't be around a lot, he'd come around. He wouldn't talk much, but he's just a memory of someone that would come around and then in and out. You know what I mean? Make his presence and leave. Say what he had to say and leave. You know what I mean? And the reason our parents don't talk to us about that, my parents, they don't talk to me about that, is because they may and this is just things that are made that are obvious why. They're my theories of why. And I never asked my parents. I never asked my father. I never asked my mother anything about Kenneth Bianchi. Everything is I wouldn't put him through that I wouldn't put him on the spot like that to do that. So everything that I know and everything that I figured out is because that's what I figured out. But I remember I have memories of Kenneth Bianchi when I was a kid. I have one memory of him when I was about 4 years old, maybe. And that was the first memory I have of him. He pulled up in front of our home right here on 2nd Street in the city of Montebello. He pulled up to our duplex in a limousine. And that was the first time I've ever seen a limousine. I remember I was on, I think, a little scooter or something. And I was pretty amazed at that big, long car. So I scooted my way over there to go check it out. And I remember a man leaning over inside the limousine, and I'm just looking inside because I was pretty amazed. I had whatever a limousine has in the interior. It was pretty interesting to me. So, but I mean, the most memorable thing that I heard out of his mouth was "Get out of here, you little TJ," and he said it in a really low tone and not too aggressive or mean. He just like, "Get out of here, TJ," or something like that. He said those words, and I remember I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't even know what that meant. So I just scooted my way out of there. I was like, all right. He told me, I understand, get out of here. So that was enough for me to just leave. So I remember just taking off to my little friend's home down in the next duplexes. And then after that, that was like the first memory I had of Kenneth Bianchi. And then thinking back more, as time went by, I remember him as a break dancer who used to hang around with the other neighborhood teenagers and kids in my neighborhood. And his transformation was pretty. It wasn't. You wouldn't be able to tell the old Jerry Curl Kenneth Bianchi from the new Kenneth Bianchi, who looked more like a teenager, clean shaven, with a ducktail. As a matter of fact, ducktails were a trend in our city. Having a little ducktail in the back during the breakdancing days, and guess who brought in that trend? It was Kenneth Bianchi. He brought in that trend. He started wearing a little ducktail in the back, and before you knew it, everybody in the neighborhood was wearing little ducktails in the back. And that's how I remember him. He was part of a breakdancing crew called Electric Bugaloos. And him and the other kids in the neighborhood and the teenagers, a lot of them were from Pico Rivera. A few of them were from Pico Rivera. they would go to Hollywood. They would go to Hollywood and they go breakdance and over there and stuff. I mean, Kenneth Bianchi knows how to breakdance, and and the thing is, I never associated the limousine experience with him breakdancing until my my adulthood, and it was just maybe about a year ago or two, or maybe last year that all of these memories came back. Um, and then I remember after my dad got out of the service, I would see him again, but he would look older. He looked older, and it wasn't for a long time. I'd see him occasionally. He would be hanging around with the Mexican American community in City Terrace. Um, and sometimes I would see him at barbecues. Sometimes I'd see him at their friends' homes. I just thought he was another guy, from the neighborhood. He wouldn't. He was quiet. I remember, and I seen his photos on online. It's when he used to have a pompadour, and he kind of looked like he was Latino himself. Um, that's how I remembered him, because everyone used to have that pompadour, that short pompadour from the 70s, 80s. And and my dad has that kind of hairstyle. I think he probably has it till this day. And that's how the old school used to look, just like that. White shirts and pompadours. Stacey Adams and Levi's. That's how he dressed. Beige khakis. That's exactly how he dressed. He always had a little size to him. Um, and I remember one moment in particular was the last time, I believe, um, one of the last times that anybody was even allowed to go to Montebello Hills. There was a river. There's a river in there, and I always remembered that moment of being there. I just never knew exactly where it was at. And then when all these memories came back, I thought about it. I go, that has to be Montebello Valley River. I remember because when you had to cross the river, I think to go to the restroom, I believe, and there was a home up there with stairs, not too far from the river. Um, it looked like a vacation home, and it had a set of stairs, like 2 stories of stairs, and then it had like it was a home on supports, and it looked like it was in the woods. And I remember crossing over the river, and I remember there was rocks, big old giant river rocks, throughout the whole bed of the river. And I remember crossing with my mother and another girl, and I remember Kenneth Bianchi being there. And all these memories are short because about that time, it was probably about 1977 when he stopped hanging around with the Mexican American community, and he took off and did his own thing. And that's when he was responsible for the murders of Dolores Cepeda and Sonia Johnson and the rest of the women victims that suffered, that most tragic moments due to the hands of hillside stranglers. That's see all everything that's played out since then. Um, your mind has to process what's going on. Why? Why would I even have encounters with Kenneth Bianchi in the present time? Why? I mean, who am I? Who am I? And why am I so special that he has to show up and make his presence known to me? I have no idea. What did I do? Am I a threat? Does he have some kind of vendetta towards me? How? I don't know. I never seen him in my life. Well, in my teenage years or young adult years, not until just recently. I have no idea why, but I had to find out why. And as soon as America started turning for the worst, Um, a lot of the Mexican American community here in Montebello were chased out of here, and met the Scientology from Mexico moved in, and they practice the same. And a lot of them ain't from Scientology. They just have family members, and they have other nationals that practice that. The reason California got taken over, and Scientology took over a majority of the law enforcement here. I mean, when you're working on a conspiracy for decades and decades and decades, and with kind of supernatural powers that exist in the psychic realm, I mean, anywhere, but in the psychic realm, everyone knows what I'm talking about. I learn because whatever I learn has been used on me by other people, and I catch on. I catch on to things really quickly. It doesn't take long for me to figure things out. So I'm here wondering what's going on. Why am I put in this predicament? Why am I being harassed? Why is my family being harassed? Why haven't I communicated with my son for 8 years? And it has a lot to do with manipulation, manipulating the air. People don't realize just how much impact and influence spirit has. They don't understand that because they can't see it. Just because you can't see, voices in the air that are transmitted to you through the cell phone doesn't mean that they're not there. I mean, how else is it done? Radio waves, cell phone waves, microwaves. You can't see them, but they're so effective and strong that you could hear, or you could heat your food with things that you can't see. And the same holds true for spirit. If someone puts a spirit on you to manipulate you, that's all that spirit does. So before you know it, you're having these thoughts of, if they want you to go eat a donut, you're gonna have that spirit tell you, that's a good donut. Go eat a donut. Go eat a donut. These spirits are ongoing, looping in your ear subconsciously for as long as it takes till you go eat a donut, and their mission's accomplished. And that's how spirit works when it's manipulated. So, I mean, you could imagine, people who practice black magic, Satanism. You could imagine how much they get into it and how obsessed they become with it to a point of delusion. And they won't stop. They'll keep on going. As long as they see progress, and even if they don't, they'll keep going. And unfortunately, they've seen a lot of progress. It worked. They did take over California, and that's what we're dealing with presently. Supernatural realm has it's associated with extraterrestrials, UFOs, unexplained, and it's just those are subjects that are very, very hard to explain to people who are skeptical, who don't believe, who have one-track minds, who can't think out the box, and believe. It's just because they can't. Because they don't see it, and they won't believe it. I know how frustrating it is to try to convince somebody of that, because my mother's one of those people. I can't convince her of nothing. I can't convince her of our present situation here right now. And a lot has to do with intimidation I know she has an idea and she doesn't rule out anything, but it has to do with the safety, for her own safety and for the safety of us and her grandchildren. That she'd rather not deal with it. She deals with her own situations in her way, and a lot of it is just to not worry about it and not think about it. Because after those murders in 1977, Kenneth Bianchi was supposed to have gone to jail. He didn't go to prison. He never went to prison. He goes back and forth just to make visits to prison. He never went. So, I mean, he would reappear back in the Mexican American communities as police officers, primarily Montebello police. And I'm sure that was a lot of intimidation towards a lot of people in the Mexican community. A serial killer coming back and being a Montebello police officer and being told, don't ever mention anything to anybody about what's going on or what went on or seeing me. And I'm sure that was one of the things that he told everybody. And, back in 1977, my father went to the service. He went to the service, and, my mother was a single mother that was raising me and my sister. And I'm almost certain that Kenneth Bianchi used to go and show up and pop up and intimidate and threaten my mother while she had us there. And it's possible he may be one of the people responsible for the murder of some of my family members, one being my aunt, Antonia Cervantes, who supposedly died in a car accident. I have a big feeling, and my intuition tells me that he was one of the people responsible for that. And nothing could change my mind about that. There's a reason why he's making his appearance known to me, or showing up, and we've had so many encounters. I mean, there's times that there was a time that occurred while I was doing security at St. Joseph's Medical Center. It was after the first time I seen him, and everything I experienced, I tweet about right when it's happening. I keep it as reference so I can remember. So if I ever have to go back to that moment, I'll know exactly when it took place. I was sitting in my car, and at that time I had seen him there previously. This was after I had seen him in front of my apartment, and I pulled out my 9mm on him, and I had put away my firearm, and I came inside to get a camera so I could take some photos of them in the car. But when I got outside, they're already gone. I mean, the car was there; they were gone. They took off to one of these neighboring homes right here, because they took over this whole neighborhood already. Everyone who lives here are completely different. I mean, homeowners usually stay in the same home until they're gone, unless they go buy a new home somewhere. But usually, when you buy a home here in Montebello, you settle here and you end up dying in the home as an old person, and that's not the case here. There's probably about one family that has been here since for more than 30 years. Everyone else is new, and foreign nationals. But you know what's going on in your neighborhood. You know if things are unusual, and like I said, once you can only imagine if you're a part of that kind of group, and you're explained what's going on right now, what the circumstances are, you'd probably be pumped up and enthusiastic and feel like nothing could happen to you. And these people are negative people. I mean, a childish negative, like an ignorant negative. Like they like to taunt, and they think there's no consequence that can ever happen. And you hear these grown-ups acting like kids, saying dumb things, taunting, provoking, making comments that sound childish. Like, really? Like, how old are you? And a lot of them are Montebello teachers from the Montebello Teachers Association. I mean, they watch me in my home. There's a hard line connected from their building all the way to our power line. I mean, how obvious can you be? Why do you need power from our power line? Because it ain't power. It's audio visual. But no, Montebello's always been under control of KKK and Nazi leadership. And that's why it's an incorporated city. Even though there's always been Mexican Americans who have been officers here. Since 2016, it's changed. A lot of these people are Puerto Rican, and even if they are Mexican or of different ethnicities, they hold one thing of interest. They share one thing of interest, and that's their religion or whatever they practice. So I mean, like I said, I had to look for answers myself. Like, who am I? Why am I being singled out? Why am I being targeted? Why are famous serial killers showing themselves to me? Why? And it's like a fantasy, but it ain't a fantasy. It's like a nightmare, really. It's like a nightmare. It's like a nightmare to have to worry about your mother and your daughter and your family, but especially your mother and your daughter. Like, why am I seeing all these people? And that was their purpose, to try to scare the shit out of me. But I ain't scared, really. I mean, I'm aware. But when I was a child, I was always scared. I was always scared of confrontation. But as I got older, and I hit high school and got involved in neighborhood gangs and stuff, something just took me over, and I never was scared again. My mind, my spirit will never allow me to be afraid. I take things head on and with no fear. It just ain't in me to even when a gun was pointed out, even when guns have been pointed at my face, something just, I'd rather die than cower. And that's always how I think. And I tell myself it's the decisions that I made back when I was younger, as a teen or young adult, would I make them again? I don't think I would. I wouldn't act out the way I did when there was a gun pointed in my face. Presently, I wouldn't be telling people to pull the trigger. I wouldn't be cussing them out in their face, telling them to shoot me. I wouldn't do that. That's the difference between me then and me now. All I would probably say is, you make your own decision. Do what you gotta do. But I ain't gonna be afraid. And that's exactly how it is. I ain't afraid. I ain't afraid of seeing these serial killers that are supposed to be doing life terms in prison. But during all my research, I found out all the reasons. This year, land that I've been living on nearly all my life was part of the Aztec Empire. There are pyramids here in Montebello. There's pyramids here that are and temples that have been built on over. But I mean, if you're already familiar with me and my research and everything that I tweet, you'll see all the evidence of that. Um, all the locations, um, where they're at, Cervantes Valley, how much history it has there, which is now called Montebello Haskell oil fields. There's castles down there, castles that have been belong to my family for hundreds and hundreds of years. See, because the reason why I've been targeted and singled out by these legendary serial killers like Kenneth Bianchi and Angelo Buono is because they were working with the government to, it's a history that it's like, how can I explain this without it sounding too fantasy or too outrageous? But it's not, and it's not hard to explain. It's just, if you're gonna hear me out, then don't be so quick to judge until you've done your own research. Because these people I'm talking about, they're real. They're real people who are still alive. But when you know about the psychic realm and you know about the power of spirit, and what you could accomplish using it for the negative, for bad intention, through witchcraft and human sacrifice, then you'll know that just how much in danger that we are, this nation, because we are. This nation has got taken over. It's got taken over already because of those powers that people are skeptical about, that they don't believe. That's one of the reasons why we're in so much danger today. A spirit is a spirit holds a lot of power. I learned that people can make a spirit basically like a slave, like a spy for them, and that means that they could access information from anywhere at any time, real time, depending on how strong your psychic ability is. People could ask your spirit, what are your intentions, and a spy spirit is here listening to you and basically living right here within you and reporting everything to whoever's asking. So if they ask me what your intentions are, they already know what I'm going to do right now. Everybody knows, right? Sometimes before I even leave, there's people pulling up, and they're not being discreet about being here or being around or their intentions. I already know once I leave, they're in my home. That's how much audacity these people have. How much nerve they have. They have no shame. And a lot of them are transients living down by the river. And sure enough, when I come home, my home has been violated. Never have I ever thought that I was. I mean, who wakes up in the morning and says, "Yeah, I'm a king," or "I'm royalty," or "I'm an emperor"? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, especially for someone like me, who's always struggled with my family. My mother's worked full time for 20 years already for Kaiser Hospital, but before that, yeah, we struggled. We struggle just like every Mexican American family has. We've been through the welfare process, you know. But my mom has been. She's always been a hardworking woman who's always raised us on her own. My father's been around, but he struggles on his own, and I know how it is to struggle. I know how it is to be oppressed. I know how it is to not be given entitlement and be given breaks. Because a lot of people are given that. They don't need experience for these jobs that pay $30, $40 an hour because they're just given to them. Here, take this job. It's all right. Learn it, and that's it. And some people can't even do that, but they have them. They make them supervisors, so they don't have to do nothing really. Just be fucking assholes with people, and we'll take off and have lunch in nice places. That's the way it is. And that's not how it is for us, though. We have to struggle on, this is a superficial world that we live in. And if you ain't up to par with people's expectations visually, then you're going to be struggling. I mean, not for everybody. It doesn't hold true for everybody in every corporation or every business. I mean, there are good people out there, but as it gets, as the nation starts to worsen, it is going to be like that. And it's going to become more cold. I mean, I did my research, and I already know what's going on. I know what it's regarding. I know who I am. And it trips me out to see, and the advantage that I have to convince everybody else is there's photography, there's images of me, of who I was and who I am today. Because if there wasn't, then I wouldn't even believe that I was that person. Why would I? But there is, fortunately, there is evidence out there that I've found that is the reason that I know who I am today, and the experiences that I've had, and the things that I hear, the communication that I make. When you see your image inside of a UFO, everything starts getting put together. All this information, why what's happening, a lot of people don't understand. They think because we're of different ethnicities, we're not related, but we are. We are related. Everybody. Kenneth Bianchi is of relation to us. He ain't family, but he is of relation. So, in past lives, past lives like mine, for instance. If you know the story about King Pakal, Emperor Pakal, if you know his story, then you have a good understanding of what's going on today. King Pakal, he foretold his return, that he was going to return and he was going to take over the world. And how he was going to do it was going to be with his technology. Because his technology ultimately is going to save the world. But only he could access it. So that's one of the reasons why everything has been concealed from the Mexican American community. Because they want to find who he is. And they've gone so desperate and so far that they cross boundaries and use science to try to bypass his presence. So they found out who he was when he was a child, which is me. And since I was a child, they've been using my blood. Every time I go to the doctor, they're taking crazy amounts of blood from me. And I don't understand why, but you know, I ended up finding out that you know, they're using that blood to create children, you know, who have my DNA and my blood running through their veins. And so, I mean, in order to access the technology that they're concealing, they have to find who Paco is, who his parents are, and who's the mother of his children. So, I mean, they're using my family's blood like crazy. They're using, you know, the women who have also been reincarnated and made their return here with me. And those are my happen to be my ex-girlfriends and the mother of my children. And they're using all of their blood with my blood, and they're making combinations, and they're creating these children. I've seen children who look just like my ex-girlfriend, and some of them ain't even children. Some of them are around my age. That's why I'm saying they've been using my blood for since I was a toddler, creating children. Some of them die, some of them live. Some of them get sent to the Ku Klux Klan or other, you know, to other places where men end up adopting them and sexually abusing them, and maybe sometimes even killing them. And that's a part that the Hillside Stranglers are a part of. They do that. They do the hunting. They find my relatives. They find the relatives of my daughter's mother. They find the relatives of my son's mother. They find the relatives of my ex-girlfriend Susan, who resembles Saint Anne. We never had a child together physically, but through artificial insemination, we had children that exist right now. And some of these children that they create, they'll take and they try to access the technology through them, and when it doesn't work, they'll kill them. They sacrifice them. And it's disturbing. It's disturbing to know that fact. But enough has happened to me. I've had enough experience to be solid with my claims about who I am. Else I wouldn't be this confident. Because ultimately, it's the decision of the American people who decide which way their destiny is going to go. That's why I have to make these broadcasts, regardless of you know, how corny or impossible it may seem for a Mexican American like myself to be claiming that he's the heir to the world. But that's the fact. That's exactly what it is. Every other nation decided to take the wrong route and go along with America's delusional plan to eventually take over, and they get seduced with these little gifts of technology that are impressive, really impressive. And I impressed myself. I'm like, wow, you made all this? That's what I did. And I created safeguards too. I created safeguards that won't allow anybody to use that on me. That's why we would be dead by now. All of us would be dead by now if it wasn't for the technology that exists right now in the present. It would just use all these guns, all this technology to kill us, come in and wipe us out. It would have been done. Why waste time? Why waste time chasing this guy down and intimidating him and making him eat secretions and all the, it's ridiculous. Putting secretions all over my home and my food and contaminating it. Why? What is it? I had to find out what the reason was. And that it has to do with espionage and spy spirits. They just want to know what I'm doing, what I'm thinking at every moment and any moment. So that's the only way. Apparently, that's the only way for them to find out, or the most easiest way. It's the most disgusting way to find out some information. And I'm sure when they say secretions, spirit doesn't mean spreading your ass all over someone's home and food, or their bodily fluids. I mean, I'm sure saliva will do just fine. You don't need to go to the extremes of pissing in someone's fucking room. You know what I mean? How about a little saliva somewhere? Like, hey, right here, boom. Why can't you just fucking do that? They had to make it fucking just totally negative, ugly, disgusting, unhealthy, contaminated negative. It's gross. And when you see the people that it's coming from, it's even more disgusting. It's a tragedy, really, to have to live in a home where it's contaminated all the time because the police don't want to intervene. They don't want to help no matter what. There's a camera right here in our alley. You would think they access that for us and be like, oh yeah, someone did go in your home. No. I don't even have surveillance anymore. What is the purpose? If I go show them, they ain't gonna do nothing anyways. I have these live YouTube broadcasts, broadcasting while I'm gone, and you could hear people in my home. You think that's you think it matters? Do you think it matters who I am? No. Because my family, the faces on the inside the temples and these pyramids, our faces are all over the place. And apparently, according to them, those faces don't look like the Mexican Americans, but they resemble all my family. Well, maybe they thought they were Italian, like Kenneth Bianchi, which is questionable, because I don't even think Kenneth Bianchi is Italian. Because according to my research, I found out that the Ku Klux Klan would be looking for my family since back in the early days of the 1800s. They'd be looking for my family, and they'd be kidnapping them and relocating them. Sometimes, they would be relocating them to the East Coast, and vice versa. And a lot of the places. One of the place with the heaviest activity is here in Montebello. Like I said, my family and everybody's family, regardless of who you are, once you die, you'll come back. You come back into the earth born as somebody else. But you always be born back into your own family. And that's the secret. You always be born back into your own family. So no matter if I had been another ethnicity back, in a previous life, say I was Black, African American, it wouldn't have mattered because I would have been related still some way. Back in In 1923 and before that, on here in the Aztec Empire, um, black black Mexican, European, Asian, we were all related, and you can see evidence of that in photos of the children of the Aztec Empire that I posted. You can see the characteristics in their face. They look Some look Asian, some look European, some look Latino, and that's how the Aztec Empire was. Navajos. The Navajos were had really dark skin. That's how that's African American. And once we all combined it, they ended up looking African American, Indian. That's where the dark skin comes from. Tupac Shakur. He's another relative of ours. And sometimes people tell me, how come I see Tupac? Like, you look like Tupac. I don't know. I didn't know. And it's not told to me too much, but, I just say, maybe it's just the dark mustache and the bald head. But I found out that he was a relative of ours, and so was Kenneth Bianchi. They are related to us somehow. But like, how did we get separated? That happened in 1923 when Germany invaded Los Angeles, and that was the mission, to separate and destroy certain people up in the hills of Rose Hills. There are concentration camps there right now. Cervantes Valley, more concentration camps. Those are the concentration camps. The famous ones, Auschwitz, Warsaw. Those are the concentration camps. There's subterranean entrances all over the place right here. The castles and European influenced structures in the Cervantes Valley, which is asphalt oil field, that have been concealed forever. And always Mulholland, from the days of Mulholland when he came here, him and the Montebello Police Department were killing off the Cervantes family who had European features. European and Mexican. They would kill the European ones, and they put the more darker skinned ones out in other places. And there's a photo of that. So I mean, all it downs to is, people are living their lives right now. They're living their lives content. But that's how it is. It's a secretive operation, which eventually is going to end up resulting in the demise of even the most negative people, because it's a competition on who's more negative. Kenneth Bianchi, he throughout life, King Paco, when after he died, he keeps coming back. I keep coming back all the time, but I may come back looking a different way. I may come back looking like my son. I might have came back looking like my cousin. I might have came back looking like my father. I might have come back looking like my nephew. I might have came back looking like Kenneth Bianchi, and we may have shared a life together as King Paco. But and that's the reason. When they took him to the temple of the sun up here in Montebello Hills, some of that technology was accessed by him because of his relation. And that's why they made their move to try to take over California by intimidating the U.S. military and everything else, because they're able to disarm. A lot of events played out in December of 2017. I took pictures of in the sky. UFOs for weeks. explosions in the sky, blew up the sky. A lot of things that you wouldn't even be able to fathom happen. Dimensional changes taken from our environment, our whole environment taken into space, into different regions of space where we weren't even on Earth because of the occurrences that happened on Earth. Radiation and nuclear blasts that contaminated the whole Earth. So we had to get taken out of there. And the technology is so beyond your imagination that we don't even know that when we're gone. You could feel it sometimes. You could feel that pull. You could feel, you could hear earthquakes and you could hear reactions. And you could feel little vibes of little shakes. But what those are self-contained earthquakes that are happening for certain people. You could hear air communication with aircraft and UFOs happening over the cities. I've heard like a fender bender of aircraft in the sky. It was like two giant ships hitting each other with that hollow metal impact. Like boom, like it was crazy. It was loud and it was right over us. It sounded like tons of metal hitting each other. I've seen UFOs. I don't know if they're UFOs. It might have really been dragons. I've seen dragons flying in the air. I seen one diving into Cervantes Valley. I have one. I have a video of one on my YouTube feeds through my surveillance camera. It's just, I have so much UFO video, spirit video, ridiculous. But like I said, everything that is playing out is because of what was supposed to happen. Prophecy is playing out, and Kenneth Bianchi happened to have accessed some technology that convinced California to go on its own and take over as itself, and eventually take over America. But they had to test it out first on California. We're going to take over California. The U.S. government ain't going to tell us nothing. That's why they have all these guns along the river right here. Anti-aircraft guns, Panzer tanks, snipers. They're all there. It's all on my Twitter feed. Photography of them. You can see it on Google Earth. It's for American military because California took over. California took over, and slowly they're killing children. They're going through city counties, and they're making everybody submit or die. And it's happening. But the reason why they took over California is because of these pyramids and the power it holds. But unfortunately for them, they're not going to access the full technology because that's not for them. It's for me. It's for me and my son to have to take power of these nations and restore everything back to how it was, but better. Using that technology to heal, to repair the damage that's been done to people. The sicknesses that have been caused by, allowing others to come in people's homes and poison them and cause cancer and tumors and respiratory problems and everything that is negative within a person's house. All these government agencies here in California, there's always someone shady working there with bad intention, killer negative, serial killer human sacrifice negative. That's what we're dealing with. Right here in Montebello alone, I found out there's about 80 serial killers all around. 80. 80. And if you're a psychic or you have the ability to hear, you can confirm that. What people don't know and what people were taught was that detective. What is a detective? A detective is using someone else's spirit to go and spy for you and do something else. That's dangerous. It's dangerous, and it's not a good idea because you don't need that. If you stay positive, have good intentions, and you create good karma, you don't need that. You access that from spirit, the billions of spirits in the air, the spirit world, the Holy Spirit. They'll be more than happy to help you. They'll be more than happy to give you the information that you're looking for, if there's a good reason for it. If you want to know someone's personal information, yeah, that's something that you, just for the intention of stealing their identity, which has already happened to me. My identity's been stolen. Someone applied for Social Security disability insurance, and as quick as they applied, they got approved. How long does that take? What do they? Don't you need a doctor's letter? Don't you need a letter from a doctor, and then you have to go apply, and then go through the process of getting approved? It happened for them like almost nearly instantaneously. $245 a week of Social Security disability insurance that I got approved for, but I never applied. Which sounds good because I ain't working right now. As a matter of fact, right now I have to go to the General Relief Office to go apply for $220 a month and food stamps, which I've been living on for probably about 8 months. I'm probably already at down to the last month of benefits for that. For the cash. That's how I'm living, and that's what's going on. Like I said, everything was supposed to be put into my name, regardless of how it played out. Everything is supposed to go in my favor. Everything's supposed to go in my favor, and it did. What they're trying to do is they're trying to say, okay, we're going to do it, but they're not doing it. Just like they weren't concealing the pyramids up in Montebello Hills. They cleaned it up and they left it a big old mound that's there, and it's partially concealed. But now, if you look at the pictures, someone dug into the pyramid with a bulldozer. They're trying to tear it apart. Because what's happening is they were given an order from a higher power, from a higher technology. Because that higher power is pissed off about what's going on. And they ain't complying with the agreement or the prophecy that was told. If America can't take care of its people and they can't be positive and they want to continue killing innocent people and genociding people, they're going to have to turn over their power to the emperor who's going to return. And that's me. And I'm going to make it better. I'm going to make a better future for your children. I'm going to make a better future for the generations to come. And hopefully with the technology that I'm hoping is still available and untampered with, I can make it better for people who are suffering from illnesses and conditions like obesity, diabetes, cancer, and tumors. Because those ain't the only ways to die. There's 1 million ways to die here and on this earth. And through sickness, it's not the only way. Um, you know, and according to the sources that I access and who appear to me and communicate with me, that's the purpose of my existence here today, and my son's. Although I haven't seen him in nearly 8 years. He's with me in spirit, and I know what our objective is. And King Paco, I had a good idea of the kind of individual he was back in the days because of who I am today. When I get angry, and I'm sure the same for him, I probably said something like, I don't care. You want to you want to punish me on my return? You want to put all the forces against me and make all the odds against me? Do it, and I'll still rise from the flames, and I will take over. So pack as much bullshit that you want on top of me, and I'm going to prevail regardless. And I asked myself, why would I put myself in that predicament? Why did I have to do that? That's just the kind of person I am, you know what I mean? When I know that I'm right, I know that I'm positive, and I'm sure back then it's like my technology and the forces that be aren't going to let anything get in the way of me making this a better world and making it a better place for everybody, not just a certain ethnic group. These pyramids that exist here are supposed to be preserved, supposed to be accessible to everybody, not just Satan worshippers who want to take people down there and kill them and sacrifice them and then steal all the riches and artifacts that are contained in them. And then when it gets bad and they're ordered to give them back, have a temper tantrum and start ripping them down. That just made it worse. So I mean, that's all I can do. I try my best to explain to you, give you a summary of exactly what's going on here in America and what's supposed to play out. But ultimately, I have to try to save as many people in the world as I can through my influence. And hopefully my influence is enough to let you know that if I'm saying that everything was supposed to be put in my name, all ownership of everything throughout the nation, even the world and other nations, then who's controlling our food? Who's controlling our prescription medications? It's serial killers who are given what's supposed to be handed over to me to make it better. Because our food is already contaminated. It has secretions because of an obsessive personality, a psychopathic personality who believes that secretions, us eating his secretions, are gonna alert him to anybody who wants to take power from him. That's disgusting to me. So our food is already contaminated and tampered with. Eventually, it's going to be the prescription medications. I have asthma. Eventually, it's just going to stop working. Same for other health conditions that people have, diabetes, epileptic seizures, whatever else that people need to survive, heart medication, whatever other people need to survive. On a psychopathic's request, it could all end for them because they own all of it. They own everything. So, I mean, pretty much that's where it's at. I mean, it's your decision. But I'm not supposed to be living in these conditions right now. I'm supposed to be living how a king is supposed to be living, taking care of his people, how a king is supposed to take care of them, ensuring that their short time here on this earth is a memorable experience that they could enjoy. And it doesn't have to be a life of struggling due to the color of your skin. I gotta run. I gotta handle some business. But thank you for listening, and hopefully, once the conditions change for me, I can make it change for the world and make it better here in not only California, throughout the United States, Mexico, Canada, the United Kingdom, and everywhere else. Because that's just the kind of person I am. I mean, that's the only way I could sum up everything in, I don't know how long, an hour and 21 minutes. So I got to go. I don't know if I'll probably leave the surveillance camera on in another broadcast, just so people could see the traffic that comes through whenever I'm gone and hear people in the kitchen tampering around or anywhere else in my home, or see my dog's reaction, because she does react when people come in. But you have a good day, and thank you for listening.